All right, so we're diving in something pretty cool today. We're talking about spicing up everyday conversations. You've given us this list of really interesting words.
And it seems like you're looking to move past the basic vocabulary, find those real gems.
Yeah, the gems that really capture a feeling.
Exactly. It's not about being pretentious, but it's about really wielding language in a more intentional way.
Like you want to use these words and not sound like you're giving a lecture.
Yeah.
Exactly. You want them to flow naturally. So the piece we're going to dive into is called 11 Most Useful Advanced Words for Daily Conversation You Probably Never Hear Yet.
Okay.
Which is a mouthful, but I think this is going to be fun.
It's a great title.
So first word, serendipity. I just love this word.
Yeah.
It's not just luck, it's luck that brings something good.
Right. It's that good luck.
Yeah. So I remember...
You had a serendipitous moment?
I did, actually. I was completely lost in a new city and, hopelessly lost.
Oh. And I bet that wrong turn led to something fantastic. I stumbled upon this hidden courtyard, and there was this tiny cafe with like the aroma of fresh pastries, live music, the most charming atmosphere. I never would have found it if I hadn't gotten lost.
Well, that's the thing about serendipity, isn't it? It's about being open to the unexpected, recognizing opportunity when it presents itself, even if it's like a detour, like a conversation. Sometimes the most interesting parts of conversations are when you go off script a little bit.
So it's not just about like stumbling onto something good, it's recognizing the potential.
Yeah, recognizing the potential, yeah.
Okay, that makes sense. All right, so let's move on from serendipity to quirk, which I think we all have.
Oh, yeah.
And we love them about people.
Little things that make us unique. Those endearing oddities. Not weird, just endearing,
The source actually mentioned humming while working.
Oh, yeah, like a little background music. I love it.
Yeah, I do that, and I never thought of it as a quirk.
We don't see our own quirks, right?
They're just part of us.
Yeah.
But other people notice them and they think, oh, that's so-and-so,
Yeah. It's like a friend that always has to have their coffee a certain way, or a colleague that organizes their desk meticulously.
They could even be a conversation starter.
Right.
Like imagine someone noticing you humming and they go, oh, you hum while you work. Me too.
Yeah.
What's your go-to tune?
Yeah. There's a connection.
Totally.
Okay. Now, on the flip side of that, we've got oblivious. We've all been there where we're just completely unaware of something obvious.
And it can be hilarious.
Right.
As long as it's not too embarrassing.
Okay, so I'm going to share one. I once walked right past a friend on the street because I was engrossed in a podcast.
Uh-oh.
And they had to chase me down the block, waving and shouting my name. Talk about feeling oblivious.
I mean, it's a funny anecdote, but it reminds us that we're not always as aware of our surroundings as we think, right?
But maybe that's a good thing sometimes.
How so?
Like maybe obliviousness lets us focus on what's important to us, like tune out distractions.
That's interesting. So it's almost like a superpower, right? The ability to really hone in and block out everything else.
Yeah, I like that. Okay, let's move from obliviousness to something much more positive, altruistic. And I think this word really speaks to like a genuine concern for others.
Yeah, it's about going beyond just simple acts of kindness, but really making an effort to benefit others, even if it costs you something.
And I think it's important to distinguish true altruism from actions that appear selfless.
Yes.
But maybe have ulterior motives.
Yeah.
Like someone might donate to a charity for the tax benefits rather than out of pure generosity.
It's about the intention.
Yeah.
It's not just the action, but the reason behind it.
And it reminds me of the debate about whether true altruism even exists.
Oh, is there such a thing as pure selflessness?
Right.
That's a big question.
But regardless, I think striving for altruism makes us more empathetic and compassionate.
I agree with that. Totally.
Okay. Let's shift gears and talk about nonchalant.
Ooh. Projecting that cool confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's about appearing calm and relaxed, even in situations that might make others anxious. It's like saying, I've got this, without actually having to say it.
It's like gliding through a crowded room unfazed by the chaos around you.
Yeah, I like that.
Effortlessly cool.
But it can't be arrogance.
Right.
It can't be indifference. It's this balance between being composed but still engaged.
So it's not being aloof.
That's a great distinction, yeah.
Because aloofness creates distance.
It does. But nonchalance, when it's done well, can actually be quite charming. It's magnetic,
So how do you walk that line? How do you project nonchalance without coming across as dismissive or uncaring?
I think it's about being present, engaged, responsive, but with that air of composure. Like a dancer who makes those difficult steps look effortless.
Oh, okay. So you're still putting in the effort.
Yes, you are.
But you make it look easy.
Looks effortless, exactly.
Well, okay. I'm starting to get this.
Yeah.
But, you know, we can't always be nonchalant. Sometimes life throws us curveballs and we end up feeling completely flustered.
Yeah, flustered. Like that feeling of being caught off guard, a little bit embarrassed, definitely not in control.
Right. You know those moments when you like trip and stumble in public?
Oh, yeah.
Or you totally blank on somebody's name and you've met them a million times.
I once spilled a full cup of coffee on a potential client during a job interview.
Oh, no.
Talk about feeling flustered.
So flustered really captures that blend of confusion and nervousness and slight embarrassment.
Yeah. It's like when you're trying to tell a story and you completely forget the punchline.
Yeah, you're laughing but cringing inside at the same time.
And I'm guessing it's the opposite of nonchalance.
I would say so, yeah. Nonchalance is like that outward projection, and flustered is the internal experience.
So maybe being able to laugh at ourselves when we're feeling flustered is a sign of confidence.
That's a good point. It's certainly a sign of self-awareness and resilience, I think.
Okay, let's move on to a word that, doesn't necessarily spark joy, like serendipity. It's mundane.
Oh, the daily grind, the routine, the things that can feel soul-crushing if we let them.
Right. Recognizing those aspects of our lives that feel repetitive or uninspired or lacking in excitement.
And this connects back to your desire to elevate your language.
Yeah.
Because using richer vocabulary can be a way to break free from the mundane.
I love that.
So imagine describing your daily commute as a dreary procession of metal boxes instead of just a boring drive.
It paints such a picture, doesn't it?
Okay, so recognizing the mundane isn't about dwelling in negativity.
Yeah.
It's about becoming aware of the areas in our lives where we might be on autopilot. And then we can use language to shift our perspective, find the beauty or humor even in the everyday.
I love that. It's like reclaiming your power to shape your experience through the words you choose.
Okay. I love this. It's like we're turning these words into tools for self-discovery and personal growth.
I like that, yeah.
Okay, let's go to eloquent.
Oh, eloquent.
It makes me think of great orators captivating audiences with their words.
Yeah, but eloquence isn't just for the stage or the pulpit, right?
Right.
It's a quality we can cultivate in our everyday conversations.
So it's not just about using big words or fancy language.
No, it's about clarity, precision, choosing the words that resonate with your audience.
So someone like Maya Angelou, her words were simple, but so powerful.
So powerful, yes.
So eloquence is about authenticity and connection.
I think so.
Not just sounding impressive.
Exactly.
And it takes practice.
It does.
But the rewards, I think, are huge.
Absolutely.
All right, so let's acknowledge we don't always have all the answers. And sometimes we have these mixed feelings about a situation.
Oh, yeah. And that's where ambivalent comes in.
Yes, ambivalent.
Because it acknowledges that we can have those conflicting thoughts and feelings.
Right. It's like when you're offered a job that has amazing perks, but requires you to move away from your family and friends.
Right. On the one hand, you're thrilled.
Yeah.
But
excited about the opportunity.
On the other, it's like, oh, but.
Yeah. So it's not about being indecisive.
No.
It's about recognizing the nuance.
Absolutely.
And rather than forcing ourselves to choose a side.
Right.
Embracing ambivalence allows us to hold space for both.
Absolutely. And even use it as a conversation starter instead of just saying, I don't know. Right.
Which shuts things down. You can say, well, I'm ambivalent about this.
Yeah.
And it invites further discussion.
I'm sensing a theme here. These words are not just about expanding our vocabulary. They're about becoming more comfortable with the complexities of human experience.
Yeah, that's it. It's about embracing the full spectrum and finding the language to express those.
Okay, let's inject a little humor with facetious.
Oh, facetious. Love it.
This is about not taking ourselves too seriously.
Yeah, it's playful. It's using humor or even sarcasm to lighten things up a little.
So like when someone asks, how's your day going? And you respond, oh, fantastic. I'm just loving this traffic jam with a big smile on your face.
Yeah.
Right.
But facetiousness can be tricky.
It can be, yeah.
You have to read the room.
You do, because if you're not careful, it can be misinterpreted.
Yeah.
So it's all about being aware of your audience and the context. A well-timed, witty remark can create that bond and laughter.
Yeah.
But the wrong time, disaster.
Right. And I'm guessing it takes a certain amount of self-awareness.
It does, yeah. You have to be able to laugh at yourself.
Okay. I'm ready to embrace my inner facetiousness.
Good. I like it.
But first, let's go to a place of perfection. Pristine.
Ah, pristine. It's such a beautiful word.
It evokes a sense of untouched beauty, something in its ideal state.
It is, yeah. Like a secluded beach.
White sand, crystal clear water.
No footprints.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Or a perfectly preserved antique.
Yes. Gleaming like new.
Yeah. So it's more than just physical objects.
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Okay, how so?
You can have a pristine reputation.
Oh.
And a pristine performance.
I see. So it's flawless. Impeccable.
Yeah.
Free from flaws or imperfections.
Exactly.
Okay, that's a powerful word.
It is, yeah. And it's, it connects back to our whole idea of elevating everyday language.
Yeah.
Because by using these words more intentionally, we add that depth and nuance.
Okay, so pristine is not just a perfectly clean room. It's striving for excellence and clarity in all aspects of our lives.
That's a great way to put it, yeah.
Wow, we've explored 6 of the words on your list. We'll be back with more in part 2 of this deep dive.
Looking forward to it.
Yeah.
Welcome back to our deep dive.
I am still kind of buzzing from our exploration of those first 6 words.
Yeah.
But we're just getting started. We've got 5 more.
We do. And remember, this isn't about just adding words. It's about expanding your capacity for expression.
Yeah.
Connecting with people on a deeper level. So where should we go next?
Let's revisit flustered, because I think we've all been there. That feeling of being caught off guard, a little embarrassed.
Totally. Your mind racing.
Yeah. We talked about it being the opposite of nonchalant, but is there a way to reclaim our composure when we're feeling flustered?
That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
And it reminds me of the power of self-awareness.
Mm-hmm.
If you recognize you're feeling that way,
Mm-hmm.
you can start to manage it.
Mm-hmm.
It's like saying to yourself, okay, I'm a little flustered right now, but I'm going to take a deep breath.
So it's like acknowledging the feeling, but not letting it control you.
Yeah, and sometimes humor can be a good way to kind of diffuse the tension.
Yeah.
If you can laugh at yourself and the situation.
Right. It takes the sting out of it.
It does, yeah.
Okay, so laugh at my flustered moments. Got it.
Add it to the list.
Okay, let's shift to a word that I think often gets a bad rap. Mundane.
Okay.
It's easy to see it as like the enemy of excitement, right?
Right. The ordinary, the routine, the things that can, feel a little soul-crushing.
Yeah. But we talked earlier about how recognizing the mundane can be a catalyst for change.
Yeah, because it's about becoming aware of those areas in our lives that have just become automatic. We're going through the motions.
Like brushing our teeth or commuting to work or checking email, things we do every day without really thinking.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Exactly. And those things, they can start to feel draining if we don't find a way to inject some meaning into them.
Okay, so how do we do that?
I think it starts with awareness, right? Once you recognize it, you can choose to approach it differently.
Okay.
Maybe you listen to a podcast while you're doing chores.
Or you try a new route on your commute. Or maybe you use that mundane task as an opportunity for mindfulness.
Oh, I love that.
So instead of rushing through your morning routine, you focus on the sensations.
Yeah.
Like brushing your teeth or the taste of your coffee.
Being present in those little moments.
Yeah. So it's about finding those moments of beauty, even in the midst of the ordinary.
Yes.
And language can play a role in this, right?
Absolutely.
Okay, how so?
Well, by using more descriptive language, we can shift our perspective. So instead of describing your job as boring, which has that negative connotation,
right?
Maybe you say predictable.
Okay.
Which then opens up that possibility of, well, how can I be more creative? How can I challenge myself?
So we're reframing the experience through the words we choose.
And that can impact our emotions and our actions. It's like looking at a familiar painting, but with fresh eyes.
Okay. I like that. So recognizing the mundane is not about dwelling in negativity. It's about becoming aware of the potential for transformation.
I love that.
Yes.
All right. Let's go back to eloquent. We talked about how it's not about using big words.
Yeah.
It's about conveying your message clearly.
With impact.
With impact.
Yeah.
We talked about how Maya Angelou embodied eloquence.
Yes.
But how do we cultivate that in our own lives? Is it something we're born with, or can it be developed?
I think it can be developed. I think it's like learning a musical instrument. You don't become a virtuoso overnight.
Right.
It takes practice. So any practical tips for developing eloquence?
It starts with being mindful of the words you choose, right?
Okay.
Pay attention to the subtle differences between words that might seem synonymous.
Okay, so like instead of just saying happy, maybe I say delighted, joyful, exuberant, yeah.
Right.
Depending on the specific shade of happy I want to express.
Exactly. And don't be afraid to experiment. Try using new words, even if you're not sure you're using them exactly right. The more you play with language, the more comfortable you become.
Like trying on different outfits.
I love that.
You might not love everything.
Yes.
But you develop a sense of what works for you.
Exactly. And just like with fashion, with eloquence, you find your own style.
Okay.
There's no right way to be eloquent.
I'm feeling inspired to expand my linguistic wardrobe.
Good, I like that.
But let's be real. There are times when even the most eloquent person is left speechless.
Totally.
We're faced with a situation so complex that we don't even know what we think.
Yeah, those gray areas in life where we don't have those clear-cut answers. And that's where ambivalent is really helpful.
It allows us to hold space for both sides.
Exactly. Instead of forcing yourself to choose a side, you could acknowledge the validity of both perspectives.
It's like being a judge in a courtroom. You have to listen to both sides before reaching a verdict.
That's a great analogy. And just like a judge, you have to have that detachment and objectivity.
So how do we cultivate that? How do we avoid getting swept away by our own biases or emotions?
I think it starts with curiosity.
Okay.
Instead of jumping to a conclusion, you approach it with a desire to understand. So ask questions. Really listen.
Be willing to sit with the discomfort of not knowing.
Exactly.
That reminds me of the quote from Rumi, "Out beyond ideas of wrongdoing and right doing, there is a field. I'll meet you there."
That's beautiful. And it really does speak to that ability to be open.
Yeah. Okay, so we've explored flustered, mundane, eloquent, ambivalent, and now we have one more word. And it's facetious.
Facetious.
I feel like a shift in tone.
Yes, we're bringing in the humor.
Yeah, a little playfulness.
Yeah, a little playfulness.
Okay, so facetious is all about using humor, sometimes sarcasm, to lighten the mood. But it's a delicate dance, right?
It is.
Because you could offend.
It's all about subtlety and timing. Like a well-placed wink.
Okay.
You know, it can create that shared understanding.
But if you wink at the wrong person or at the wrong time, it can be a disaster.
Exactly. Exactly. So you have to read the room and know your audience.
So probably not something you would use with a stranger.
Maybe not, unless you're really good at reading social cues.
Right.
And you have that confidence. But even then, it's a risk.
So how do we develop that sense of when to use facetious? Is it something that just comes with experience?
I think so. The more you interact with people, the more you'll learn about social dynamics, those subtle cues.
And I'm guessing self-awareness plays a role here, too.
Absolutely. Being able to laugh at yourself, not take things too seriously.
So it's like you're saying, hey, I trust you enough to let you see my lighter side.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And when it's done well, it can create that joy and intimacy.
So it's not just about making a witty remark. It's about creating that shared moment of laughter and connection.
I love that. Yes.
Wow. We have explored so much in this segment alone. We've gone from the depths of flustered moments to the transformative power of the mundane, from the art of eloquence to the nuances of ambivalence and the delicate dance of facetiousness. And in the final part of this deep dive, we're going to bring it all together and discuss how to integrate these words into your everyday life, making them not just words you know, but words you use.
Sounds good.
All right. Welcome back to the deep dive. We've been exploring these 11 words, but now comes the exciting part. How do we actually make them a part of our conversations?
Yeah, it's like we've got this great toolkit.
Right.
But we need to know how to use it.
So how do we go beyond simply knowing the words to actually using them naturally, effortlessly?
I think it's about weaving them into the fabric of your communication. And the beauty is it doesn't have to be a big, daunting task.
Okay, so no flashcards.
No flashcards, no.
Not endless drills.
Start small. Focus on integration.
Okay. I like that. So where do we begin?
Okay, well, instead of trying to master all 11 at once, pick just 3 that really speak to you.
That you can envision yourself using.
Exactly. Let those be your linguistic companions for the week.
So, like, if someone is drawn to the idea of serendipity, embracing chance encounters, they might choose serendipity, nonchalant, and pristine.
Oh, nice. I like those choices.
Yeah.
That works.
So once you've chosen your 3 words, what's next?
Make them visible. Write them down. Put them on sticky notes.
Okay. Around your house.
Yeah, around the house. On your mirror.
Yeah.
On the fridge.
Yeah.
Reminders on your phone.
So you're creating this subtle awareness.
Exactly. And every time you see that word, challenge yourself to use it.
Okay. In a sentence.
Yeah. Say it out loud or just think it in your head.
Right. Just to get that familiarity.
Yeah. Just make it feel more natural.
And don't be afraid to experiment.
Oh, no.
Try using the words in different situations.
With different people.
See how they fit.
Absolutely. It's like trying on new shoes. You got to walk around in them a little bit.
Okay. I'm starting to feel more confident about using these words.
I love that.
What about writing? Can that be a helpful tool?
Oh, absolutely. It gives you that low-pressure environment. You can take your time, look up definitions, and play around.
Like journaling.
Yeah, journaling is great. Or even emails, text messages.
Just finding those opportunities.
Yeah, to just stretch those linguistic muscles.
Yeah. And what about observation? Paying attention to how others use language.
Oh, that's huge.
I listen to a ton of podcasts, and I'm always picking up new words and phrases.
Yeah, pay attention. What words are they using? How are they using them? The tone of voice, the pacing.
And you can even borrow.
Yeah. See what you like.
Okay, so we've talked about picking 3 words, making them visible, practice, observation. Any final advice as we wrap up this deep dive?
Yeah, I would say, remember, the goal is not to sound pretentious.
Right.
It's about enriching your communication, being authentic.
It's about unlocking the power of language to enhance your everyday experience.
I love that.
So I'd like to leave everyone with this challenge. Choose just one word we've explored and try to use it in a conversation.
Notice how it feels.
How it changes the flow of the conversation.
Have fun with it.
Yeah. Remember, language is a gift. It's a tool for connection, creativity, self-expression. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive. Until next time, keep exploring and keep expressing yourself.
Thanks for listening. All right, so you're maybe trying to pick up some conversational English.
Okay.
Maybe for a trip or just for fun.
Right.
Well, we're going deep today on just a list of 66 common words.
Okay.
But I think even if you know these words already,
Yeah.
trust me, there's more to uncover here.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we take these simple words for granted.
Right.
But they really do hold these fascinating insights into how language works.
Yeah.
How cultures interact.
Wow.
Even how our minds are wired, you know?
It's like finding hidden treasure in our own backyard.
Exactly.
Our first section here is greetings and introductions.
Okay.
And you think simple stuff, right? Hello, goodbye.
Yeah, sure.
But I'm already sensing there's a but coming.
Well, yeah, I mean, consider please and thank you.
Okay.
Yeah, they're polite. But think about the power dynamic there.
Okay.
You know, please subtly positions the speaker as needing something.
Right.
Almost in a lower position.
Huh.
Fascinating how these tiny words establish sort of this hierarchy.
Wow, I never thought of it that way.
Yeah.
So is thank you then a way to kind of acknowledge that power dynamic?
Exactly.
Right.
It creates this dance of social obligation in a way.
Interesting.
And it varies across cultures too. Like in some, a simple thank you is enough.
Mm-hmm.
But in others, there are these elaborate rituals of gratitude.
Oh, wow.
And, you know, if you misread those cues,
Yeah.
you can run into all sorts of awkwardness.
So even these basic greetings are like packed with this cultural baggage.
Absolutely.
We might not even realize we're carrying around.
Yeah.
Let's move on to common questions.
Okay.
This is like the 5 W's and an H: what, who, where, when, why, and how.
Right. The foundation of
Curiosity, right?
Absolutely. But think about how those seemingly simple words unlock the most complex questions.
Yeah.
I mean, you can go from what's for dinner
Right.
to what is the meaning of life.
Wow.
And mastering these questions isn't just about vocabulary.
Okay.
It's about equipping yourself to learn anything.
Oh, that's cool. You know,
Yeah.
It's like having keys to the universe of knowledge.
Mm-hmm.
Now, the next section, everyday actions, seems pretty straightforward at first glance.
Yeah.
You've got your eat, drink, go, come.
Yeah.
Kind of mundane actions, right?
True. But they're also the building blocks of how we describe our experiences and tell stories.
Oh, okay.
You know, I went to the store. I mean, simple, but without that verb went, the whole thing falls apart.
Right.
These actions become the verbs that drive our sentences. So it's making that communication dynamic.
And it's amazing how these simple verbs combine with other words
Oh, yeah.
to make more nuanced actions.
Right.
So go becomes go ahead, go back, go out.
Exactly.
Just a handful of verbs, and the possibilities are endless.
That's the beauty of language,
Right.
this incredible efficiency and flexibility.
Yeah.
So from just a few core verbs, we construct this infinite array of meanings.
Let's talk about time and directions and basic needs.
Oh.
Words like tomorrow, yesterday,
Mm-hmm.
home, money. These feel really deeply connected to just the human experience.
Oh, they reflect our primal need to orient ourselves in the world.
Ah.
Tomorrow is so fascinating because it's not just about the next day. It embodies hope and possibility, even anxiety about the future.
It's true.
We grapple with time and place and survival,
Yeah.
and these words capture that.
It's like each of these words is a tiny window into the evolution of human consciousness.
It really is.
Speaking of evolution, the feelings and reactions list.
Okay.
Feels like a Pandora's box waiting to be opened.
It is. We have happy, sad, angry, tired. They seem basic.
Yeah.
But then you think about all the cultural layers.
Right.
What makes one person happy might be neutral to another.
That's true.
And how we express these emotions. I mean, that's a whole other world of cultural norms and unspoken rules.
So even learning the words isn't enough.
Right.
You need to understand the context
Absolutely.
in which they're used.
Yeah.
It's making me realize how much I take for granted in my own language.
That's the point of this whole deep dive,
Yeah.
to appreciate those hidden complexities, even in the simplest words.
Before we move on, I have to ask about yes, no. And maybe these seem deceptively simple.
Right.
But they hold so much power in a conversation.
Well, think about it.
Okay.
Yes implies agreement, a willingness to go along.
Yeah.
Perhaps even submission to another's will?
Huh?
Asserts boundaries, autonomy, even defiance in some contexts.
Right.
And maybe is that realm of ambiguity, of keeping options open, sometimes even avoiding a decision.
Wow.
Yeah.
So each of these words is like a mini negotiation, shaping the power dynamic of every interaction.
Precisely. And then sorry, and excuse me, add another layer.
Okay.
Sorry, seeks to repair a social breach.
Right.
Excuse me. Requests permission, acknowledges a potential imposition. They're not just words. They're tools for navigating that social landscape.
We've gone from simple greetings to uncovering these hidden power dynamics.
That's true.
And the complexity of human emotions.
Yeah.
All from these supposedly basic English words.
And we've only just scratched the surface, because this is where things get really interesting. How do these words come to be?
Right.
What are their historical roots?
Yeah.
That's where etymology comes in.
Okay.
Yeah.
Etymology.
Yeah.
That's a word I don't use every day.
Right.
Sounds almost like a magic spell.
It does a little bit.
But you're saying it's the key to unlocking even more secrets about these words.
It really is. Think of it as like a time machine for language. By tracing the origins of words, we can understand how our ancestors saw the world and how their experiences shaped the language we use today.
Wow.
It's like you're holding a piece of history in your mouth every time you speak.
That's a powerful image.
Yeah.
So give me an example. What's like the hidden history behind one of these simple words that we've been discussing?
Okay, well, let's take the word home.
Okay.
A word that evokes feelings of comfort, belonging, safety. It has roots in this Proto-Indo-European word domus, meaning house or dwelling.
Okay.
And this word evolved over time, taking on different forms in various languages.
Right.
But that core concept of a place of shelter and belonging, that remained constant.
But even though our modern homes might look vastly different from the dwellings of our ancestors, the word itself connects us to that ancient desire for a safe haven.
Yeah, it's a powerful reminder that certain human needs and aspirations, they transcend time and culture.
And the same goes for words like eat.
Absolutely.
I mean, that comes from the Old English word eatan, which is related to the Proto-Indo-European root ide, meaning to consume or to bite.
Yeah.
So whether we're enjoying a gourmet meal or just grabbing a quick bite, we're participating in an act.
Totally.
That goes back to our earliest ancestors.
Right. It's amazing how these simple words carry the weight of history and cultural evolution.
It makes you wonder, are there any modern words that might become these kind of foundational words
interesting.
for future generations?
Yeah.
Words that will carry the weight of our current experiences.
That's a fascinating question. It's hard to say for sure which words will stand the test of time.
Right.
But I imagine words related to technology and the digital world might become the new eaten home for future generations.
Yeah.
Think about words like online, download, or virtual. I mean, these are already deeply ingrained in our daily lives.
Yeah, they are.
And could become even more essential in the future.
I can already imagine a future etymologist tracing the roots of online back to like our current era.
Right.
It's a reminder that language is constantly evolving,
Absolutely.
reflecting those changes in our world and the way we live.
Precisely. And while predicting the future of languages is impossible,
Right.
it's safe to say that these basic words we've been discussing,
Okay.
they have a good chance of sticking around.
Yeah.
Because they represent such fundamental aspects of human experience, our need to connect, to communicate, to make sense of the world.
It's comforting to know that even as language evolves, some things remain constant.
Absolutely.
And speaking of constants, we've discussed how please and thank you can reflect those power dynamics.
Yeah.
How yes and no are tools for navigating social situations. And how even a word like tomorrow embodies our complex relationship with time.
Yeah.
But there's one category we haven't delved into as deeply.
Okay.
Feelings and reactions.
Yes. The language of emotions, perhaps the most nuanced and challenging aspect of human communication.
Yeah.
Even with a limited vocabulary, we can express a wide range of feelings.
Right.
But as we touched on earlier, the true meaning often lies beneath the surface. Cultural context plays a huge role in how we express and interpret emotions.
You mentioned earlier that what makes one person happy might be neutral to another.
Right.
And I can only imagine how angry or sad might be expressed in vastly different ways depending on the culture.
Exactly. Take the word angry, for example.
Okay.
In some cultures, expressing anger openly is considered rude.
Right.
Or even taboo.
Wow.
While in others, it's seen as a healthy way to communicate frustration.
Okay.
And even within a single culture, there are different ways to express anger, from a raised voice to a subtle change in facial expression.
So learning the words for emotions is just the beginning.
Right.
Understanding the cultural nuances and unspoken rules around expressing those emotions is key to effective communication.
Absolutely.
It seems like a potential minefield for misinterpretations.
It can be, but it's also an opportunity for incredible growth and understanding.
Right.
By paying attention to how different cultures express emotions, we can become more sensitive communicators and build stronger relationships across cultural divides.
So how can we use these basic words for feelings and reactions to communicate more effectively, especially when dealing with complex emotions that go beyond simple happy or sad?
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how often we struggle to articulate our feelings even in our own language.
It's true. One approach is to combine these basic emotion words with more descriptive language to paint a richer picture of what we're feeling. Instead of just saying, I'm sad, we could say, I'm feeling down or I'm heartbroken.
Right.
It adds a layer of depth. And helps others understand the intensity and nuance of our emotions.
So it's about building upon the foundation of those simple words to create more precise and expressive language.
Exactly.
But what about those times when words simply fail us? How do we communicate emotions that are difficult to put into language, especially across cultural boundaries?
That's where nonverbal communication comes into play. Our facial expressions, body language, and tone of voice often speak volumes.
Right.
A gentle touch, a warm hug, or even a shared silence can sometimes convey more than words ever could.
Wow.
Think about how a simple smile can transcend language barriers and create an instant connection.
So effective communication isn't just about finding the right words.
It's not.
It's about using all the tools at our disposal to express ourselves authentically and connect with others on a deeper level.
Precisely. And remember, communication is a two-way street.
Right.
It's not just about expressing our own feelings. It's also about actively listening to the emotions of others, even when those emotions are unspoken.
It's making me realize that effective communication, especially when it comes to emotions, is an art form in itself.
It truly is.
It requires empathy, patience, and a willingness to be vulnerable.
And like any art form, it takes practice and a willingness to make mistakes. But the rewards are immeasurable. When we can communicate our emotions effectively, we build stronger relationships. We create more understanding and foster a more compassionate and empathetic world.
On that note, let's take a moment to reflect on everything we've explored so far. From greetings to emotions, from power dynamics to cultural nuances. These simple words have revealed a world of complexity and insight.
It's amazing what we can discover when we look beneath the surface of the everyday.
Yeah.
And it highlights the power of language to connect us, to help us understand ourselves and others.
Right.
And to make sense of the world around us.
We've covered a lot of ground, but there's still so much to explore.
Oh, there is.
We've got some fascinating listener questions waiting for us.
Okay.
Let's dive into the practical applications of these powerful words in everyday life.
Sounds good.
Welcome back to the deep dive. I don't know about you, but I'm feeling a renewed sense of awe for the power of simple words.
It's remarkable, isn't it, how much depth we've uncovered in the everyday. And it seems our listeners are feeling it too. We've got some great questions that take this exploration even further.
Let's dive right in. Our first question comes from Sarah.
Okay.
She asks, if these basic words are so powerful, are there any tips for using them more effectively in everyday conversations?
That's a great question, Sarah. And it reminds us that communication isn't just about the words themselves, but how we deliver them.
Okay.
So one tip is to be mindful of your tone of voice.
Okay.
Even a simple yes can convey enthusiasm, hesitation, or even sarcasm, depending on how you say it.
So it's like adding this layer of musicality to our speech.
Exactly.
What else can we do to make those basic words really sing?
Pay attention to nonverbal cues.
Okay.
Your facial expressions and body language can amplify or contradict your words.
Right.
Imagine saying, I'm happy while frowning.
Yeah.
The message gets muddled. We're communicating even when we're not speaking.
Yeah, that's true.
So that congruence between words and body language, that's key.
It's a good reminder to be aware of our overall communication style.
Yeah.
Speaking of sending mixed signals.
Okay.
Our next question is from John,
Okay.
who asks, how do you navigate saying no politely?
Okay.
Especially in situations where you don't want to hurt someone's feelings.
That's a universal challenge, John.
It is.
It's all about finding that balance between honesty and kindness.
Right.
One approach is to express appreciation before declining.
Okay.
You could say, thank you so much for thinking of me, but I'm not able to commit to that right now.
So acknowledging the request before stating your no?
Exactly.
Oh, that softens the blow a bit.
It does.
Any other strategies for those tricky no situations?
Sometimes a brief explanation helps.
Okay.
You might say, I'd love to, but I'm already overcommitted this week.
Right.
You don't have to over-explain, but a little context can go a long way.
It's also important to remember that no is a complete sentence, right? We have the right to set boundaries without feeling obligated to justify ourselves.
Your no is valid.
Yes.
And you don't owe anyone an explanation if you don't feel comfortable giving one.
Right.
Trust your intuition and prioritize your own well-being.
Our final question comes from Maria,
Okay.
who's feeling a bit overwhelmed by the prospect of learning new languages.
Yeah.
She asks, do you have any advice for getting started? All the grammar rules and vocabulary feel intimidating.
I understand completely, Maria. It's easy to feel lost when faced with a new language.
Right.
My advice is to start with the basics.
Okay.
Greetings, common phrases, and yes, those 66 powerful words we've been dissecting.
So building a solid foundation with the essentials before tackling the more complex stuff?
Exactly.
Makes sense.
Yeah.
What else can help those starting on their language journey?
Don't be afraid to make mistakes. It's all part of the learning process.
Yeah.
The more you practice, the more confident you'll become.
Right.
And remember, the goal is communication, not perfection.
Exactly.
And find ways to use what you're learning in real-life situations.
Oh, yeah.
Chat with native speakers, watch movies, read books.
Right?
Even if you only understand a few words at first.
Yeah.
Immersion is key.
Absolutely. The more you surround yourself with the language, the more natural it will become.
Okay.
And who knows, you might even discover hidden depths in your own native language along the way.
Well said. It's been an incredible journey exploring the power of simple words.
It really has.
From basic greetings to the nuances of emotional expression.
Yeah.
We've seen how these building blocks of language shape our communication, our relationships,
Right.
even our understanding of the world.
And we've only just begun to scratch the surface.
I know, it's exciting.
There's a lifetime of exploration to be had with even the simplest words.
So as you go about your day, pay attention to the words you use.
Yeah.
Both spoken and unspoken.
Right.
Embrace the nuances, explore the depths, and remember, even the smallest words have the power to create profound connections.
And shape our experience of the world.
Well, until next time, happy communicating. All right, so are you ready to really level up those conversation skills? Today, we're going to dive deep into how to start conversations. You know, the kind that don't just fizzle out after, just a couple of awkward exchanges.
Right.
And so get our source today. It gives you 25 questions.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. But these aren't your typical, small talk questions.
Okay.
They're designed to help you really connect with people on a deeper level.
Okay, so
Really.
not just how's the weather?
Exactly. Like, whether you're at, networking event or a party or even just, chatting with someone new at the coffee shop.
I really like how our source today breaks these questions down into 5 categories.
Oh, yeah.
It's like having a roadmap, for all these different conversational situations.
I like that, a roadmap.
Yeah, so you've got like your general questions. Those are perfect for the initial icebreakers.
Uh-huh.
And then there are ones specifically for social settings, travel, and hobbies, work or school, and even like fun personal preferences.
Okay, I totally get the whole like categorization thing.
Right.
But like, how does asking someone about their favorite hobby actually lead to a deeper connection?
Yeah.
I mean, sometimes I feel like I'm just going through the motions with these kinds of questions.
Oh, I totally hear you.
Yeah.
But think about it this way. Instead of like asking a closed-ended question like, do you have any hobbies?
Right.
Which, you'll probably just get a yes or no.
Yeah.
You could ask something like, what project are you most excited about right now?
Ooh.
And suddenly you're not just asking about hobbies.
Yeah.
You're inviting them to share what they're passionate about.
Oh.
And that's where the magic happens.
I like that it's like shifting from a checklist to like uncovering what makes someone tick. Yeah. And I guess the different categories help you tailor your approach depending on the situation, right?
Exactly. So let's say you're at a networking event.
Okay.
You could try a question from the work or school category, like what's the most interesting challenge you faced in your work recently? It's way more engaging than just asking, what do you do?
What's funny is I actually tried that question at a networking event last week.
Oh, yeah.
And the person I was talking to, they totally lit up. They told me this whole story about a project they were working on.
Oh, wow.
And it turned into a really fascinating conversation. We even ended up exchanging contact info.
See?
Yeah.
It works.
It really does.
It's all about, finding those subtle ways to unlock deeper conversations.
Right.
And our source emphasizes that it's not just about the questions themselves.
Right.
It's about how you deliver them.
Oh, right, right. The source talks about smiling, being friendly, and most importantly, not worrying about making mistakes.
Yeah.
I think that's something we all struggle with.
Oh, for sure.
Especially in new situations,
Right.
We get so caught up in trying to sound perfect
Right.
that we forget to just be ourselves.
Yeah, I think that's such a crucial point.
Mm-hmm.
It's not about flawless execution.
Yeah.
It's about genuine connection.
Right.
People can tell when you're genuinely interested, even if you stumble over your words a bit.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah.
That's a good point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's like that saying, people might forget like what you said, but they'll never forget how you made them feel.
Right.
I think that totally applies to conversations too.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
It's all about creating a welcoming space, where people feel like they can open up.
Yeah, for sure. And speaking of opening up, the source also talks about like the power of open-ended questions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of curious, do you have like a favorite example from those 25 questions that really shows this?
Let me think.
Yeah.
Oh, the one that pops into my mind is, what's your dream destination?
Okay.
It's from the travel and hobbies category.
Yeah.
But I think it goes way beyond just travel. It gets at people's like hopes and dreams, their sense of adventure.
I see what you mean.
It can spark a conversation about what truly excites them.
Oh, I see what you mean. It's not just about where they want to go on vacation. It's like a window into their inner world.
Exactly.
And you could like adapt that to other areas too, right?
Oh, yeah.
Like, what's a skill you'd love to learn someday?
Exactly. It invites them to share something they might not normally talk about.
Yeah, I feel like I get stuck asking the same old questions sometimes.
Oh, yeah.
Like, how was your weekend? Or what are you working on? It's like I'm on autopilot.
Yeah.
And the conversation never goes anywhere interesting.
Yeah, I think we've all been there.
Yeah.
It's easy to fall back on those default questions, especially when you're feeling nervous.
Right.
But what I love about this source is that it gives you a way to break out of that rut.
Yeah.
To think more carefully about your questions and what you really want to learn about the other person.
So true. It's not about like memorizing a script or something. It's about having a strategy.
Exactly.
Oh, and the source also mentions active listening.
Yes.
What does that mean to you, like when you're starting conversations?
Well, for me, active listening is about being present.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's not just hearing their words, but truly absorbing what they're saying, paying attention to their body language, and responding in a way that shows you're engaged.
So it's not just about asking the right questions.
Right.
It's about making the other person feel heard.
Exactly. You're creating a space where they feel understood.
Okay, so it's like building a bridge of understanding.
Yes, I like that.
Each question is like a stepping stone.
Yeah.
And active listening is what holds it all together.
I love that analogy. And it reminds us that conversation is a two-way street.
Right. It's about giving and receiving, asking and listening.
Exactly. And when both people are present and engaged, that's when you get those like real moments of connection.
Those aha moments.
Yes. You don't get those from small talk.
Okay, so I'm sold. These 25 questions are way more powerful than I thought.
I know, right?
But I gotta ask.
Yeah.
Do you think there are times when a simple, direct question is better than an open-ended one?
That's a great question.
Yeah.
And you're right. There are times when a direct question is more appropriate.
Okay.
Like if you need a specific piece of information or you're trying to clarify something.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, when you're trying to build rapport,
right,
open-ended questions are the way to go.
Makes sense. You got to use the right tool for the job.
Exactly. And sometimes it's about being playful with your questions, too.
Oh, yeah.
Don't be afraid to add a little humor, you know?
You know, the source has this question in the fun category that always cracks me up.
Oh, yeah?
It's, what's the most embarrassing song you secretly love?
Oh, that's a good one.
I know, right?
It's guaranteed to get people laughing.
And sharing stories.
Yeah, it's a great way to break the ice.
Exactly. It shows you don't take yourself too seriously.
Right, because in the end, conversations are about connecting with other people.
Yeah.
And sometimes the best way to do that is to just let loose and have fun.
Yeah, I love that. I feel like we've covered so much in this deep dive.
I know, right?
Like my whole view on how to start conversations has like totally shifted.
It's pretty cool how something so simple, like asking the right questions, can make such a big difference in how we connect with people.
Totally. So as we wrap up here, what are like the main takeaways you'd want our listeners to remember?
Well, first of all, you know those categories.
Yeah.
Remember those having like a mental toolkit of questions for all those different situations?
Yeah.
That can really help you feel more confident. You know,
I like that.
No matter what the conversation throws at you.
It's like having a secret weapon for those moments, you know, when you just go blank.
Exactly. And don't forget about the magic of open-ended questions.
Oh, right.
Those are key to like really getting those deep conversations going, you know?
Yeah. It's about asking questions that get people to share their stories and their passions.
Yes. Their unique perspectives.
And of course, we can't forget about active listening.
Well, that's so important.
It's like the glue that holds it all together.
Yeah. It lets you build those real connections.
It's amazing how much we can learn about someone when we really listen to what they have to say.
I know, it's true. So before we go, I want to leave you with something to think about.
Okay.
Think about the last time you had a really great conversation. You know, the kind that you just felt so engaged in.
Yeah.
What made it so memorable? Was it a certain question? Or the way the other person listened?
Yeah.
When we think back on our own experiences,
right,
we can learn even more about how to have amazing conversations.
That's such a good point. We're always learning, you know?
We are.
So go out there, experiment with these questions, and most importantly, have fun connecting with people.
Happy conversing.
All right. Ready to unlock some serious word power?
Oh, yeah?
We're taking a deep dive into 15 words that can make your English seriously sing. Think Shakespeare, but way less frilly collar, you know?
Right, not stuffy.
Yeah, exactly.
Not pretentious at all.
No, not at all. These are words that once you know them, you can really use them to make your communication better.
It's true.
More interesting. So our source material is an article. It's called 15 Words for Outstanding English.
Okay.
But we're going to go deeper than that, right?
Absolutely.
We're going to figure out how to really use these words. So first up is perspicacious. They describe it as insightful, perceptive, like a detective cracking a case wide open.
I like that.
But what makes this more than just, you know, smart?
Being smart.
Yeah.
Well, I think it's that ability to see what others miss.
Okay.
So a perspicacious person doesn't just gather the information, connect the dots, they really understand the why behind the what.
I see. So it's not just about noticing stuff. It's about...
It's with the insight,
Okay.
Think about, you know, a leader who can predict market trends or something.
Ooh, or a friend.
Yeah.
Who just gives amazing advice.
Yeah, like really on point advice.
Wow, okay.
Yeah.
That's way more interesting than just being observant, like you said.
Yeah, insightful is really the key here.
The article gives the example. Her perspicacious comments during the meeting showed her deep understanding of the project.
Okay.
I mean, that sounds like someone who's about to get a promotion.
That's right.
Right.
Exactly. And it's not just about business.
Yeah.
It's relevant in any field. I mean,
For sure.
a perspicacious historian can reframe our view of the past. A perspicacious artist picks up on those subtle emotions
I see.
we might not even realize we're
Right.
expressing.
Yeah.
It's really powerful stuff.
Okay. All right.
Yeah.
Now this next word, obfuscate.
Ooh. Obfuscate.
This one sounds a little more like villainous, right?
Sure.
Like a bad guy.
A little bit sneaky.
Yeah.
The obfuscate is to deliberately make something unclear.
Okay.
Muddy the waters, so to speak.
Yeah.
The article's example talks about like a lawyer trying to obfuscate the facts to confuse a jury.
Right. It's almost like a verbal smokescreen.
Yeah.
Just to kind of throw people off.
Exactly.
But I mean, it's not always about being like intentionally deceptive.
Good point.
Is it?
No, sometimes people obfuscate without realizing it.
Oh, interesting.
Have you ever been stuck listening to someone explain something simple in the most complicated way possible?
Yes.
They might be unintentionally obfuscating.
Okay.
Yeah.
So the key here is to be aware of when we're doing it.
Right.
Right.
Exactly.
Yeah. Nobody wants to be that person in the meeting. So how about something a little lighter?
Okay. Yeah.
Ubiquitous.
Ubiquitous.
This one feels very relevant to our world right now. It does. Like the modern world.
It means found everywhere.
Okay.
Literally.
Literally everywhere.
Yeah.
I like it.
The article talks about the ubiquitous smell of coffee in Paris.
Ooh.
Which...
for anyone who's been, it's spot on.
Spot on.
But think beyond the physical.
Yeah.
Like what's ubiquitous
what's
your world?
ubiquitous in your world right now?
Easy. Social media trends.
Ooh, yes.
They pop up.
Yeah.
Everyone's talking about them. Then poof.
Gone.
Replaced by the next big thing.
They're so fleeting.
It's fascinating and exhausting all at once.
Yes.
Yes.
I agree.
Yeah.
And that fleeting nature, that's key to understanding ephemeral.
Yeah.
Our next word.
Okay.
It's about things that are beautiful, but temporary.
I like that.
Like cherry blossoms in bloom.
Beautiful. Or viral trends, as you said.
Yeah, exactly.
The article says the beauty of the cherry blossoms is ephemeral, lasting only a week.
I know.
It makes you realize, like, how precious those moments are.
It's true.
Like, you really have to be present, knowing it's not going to last forever.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And you can apply that to more than just tangible things. Feelings can be ephemeral, too.
Oh, wow.
Like that rush of excitement when you start a new project, or even the kind of bittersweet nostalgia of remembering childhood summers.
Ooh, deep thoughts happening over here.
I know, right?
Now, I gotta admit, discombobulate is just plain fun to say.
Discombobulate.
It sounds like what happens after one too many spins on a merry-go-round.
It does, doesn't it? It does, yeah.
The dictionary definition is to confuse or bewilder.
Right.
But there's almost a playful clumsiness to it.
I agree.
That I kind of like.
I like that too.
The article uses the example of being discombobulated by like a tough interview question, which, I mean, we've all been there, right?
Oh, we've all been there.
But wouldn't you say there's a difference between being discombobulated and being straight up panicked?
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah. Because discombobulation is more of a temporary state of like, what just happened? It's like your brain needs a moment to catch up.
Yeah. So it's not always a bad thing.
No, not at all.
Sometimes a little discombobulation can be invigorating.
Perhaps, yeah.
Right.
It can shake us out of our routine, force us to think differently.
Oh, I like that.
And that leads us perfectly into our next word.
Okay.
Which embodies this idea of surprise in a very positive way.
Ooh. Okay.
Serendipity.
Ooh, serendipity. I love that word.
It's a good one.
It's like stumbling on a hidden treasure when you least expect it.
You got it.
The article talks about the serendipity of like finding a beautiful spot while hiking.
Okay, yeah.
But it can be so much more than that, right?
It can, absolutely.
Yeah.
Serendipity is about those lucky coincidences that shape our lives in unexpected ways.
Yeah.
meeting a future partner, discovering a new passion.
Mm-hmm.
Those moments where it feels like the universe is conspiring in your favor.
Oh, I love that.
Yeah.
I think what makes serendipity so delightful is that we can't control it.
Right.
It just happens.
Yeah.
And we get to enjoy the ride.
Exactly.
Speaking of enjoying the ride,
Okay.
let's talk about voracious.
Ooh, voracious.
It's a word often associated with reading.
Right.
But it applies to anything we approach with, like intense enthusiasm.
That's right.
The article gives the example of someone who's a voracious reader, finishing 3 books a week.
Wow.
I admire that kind of dedication. Yeah. But wouldn't you say voracious goes beyond just
I think so.
Quantity?
Absolutely.
Right.
It's about that hunger, that intense desire to consume and experience whatever it is you're passionate about.
Yeah. Yeah, whether it's
knowledge, travel.
Right, or even, dare I say, podcasts.
Maybe.
Right.
Podcasts.
Now, wouldn't that be a compliment?
That would...
To be known as a voracious listener.
A voracious listener.
Of the deep dive.
Of the deep dive. That's what we want. That's right.
Okay.
So, speaking of aspirations.
Yes.
Let's talk about eloquent.
Ooh, eloquent.
Yeah. This word kind of embodies the ideal of expressing oneself beautifully and persuasively.
The article uses the example of, like, a speech so eloquent it moves the audience to tears.
Okay.
But it's not just about grand gestures, right?
Right.
Can't everyday conversations be eloquent?
It can. Of course, yeah.
Yeah.
Because eloquence isn't about flowery language or trying to sound smart.
Right.
It's about choosing your words carefully to convey your meaning with clarity and passion, maybe even a touch of poetry.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah.
So it's about being intentional.
It is.
With our language, even
in casual
settings.
Yeah, that's something I think we can all work on.
We can all work on that.
Right. Yeah.
For sure. And as we become more eloquent, we open up new possibilities for connection, understanding.
Yeah.
Even, dare I say, a touch of magic.
Ooh.
In our everyday lives.
I like where this is going.
I know, right?
And luckily, we have even more words to uncover.
We do.
Stay tuned.
Yes.
Because in the next part of our deep dive, we'll be exploring words that delve into the complexities of human nature.
Okay.
Emotions.
Yeah.
Maybe even a few paradoxes.
Ooh, paradoxes.
Along the way.
I'm excited.
So stick around. Welcome back to the deep dive.
It's amazing.
We're knee-deep in fascinating words here.
I know, right?
Exploring how they can help us communicate better.
Absolutely.
And now I'm ready to tackle some of these words that deal with, shall we say, less flattering aspects of human nature. All right, let's do it.
Up first, we have sycophant.
Ah, yes, the flatterer. The yes-man, the person who praises insincerely to gain favor.
Right.
The article says a sycophant might tell you your new haircut looks great, even if they secretly think it's a disaster.
Yeah, that's rough.
I know.
But isn't there a fine line between being polite and being a sycophant?
Yeah.
Like, what if I genuinely do like your new haircut?
It's all about intention.
Okay.
A sincere compliment comes from a place of genuine appreciation.
Right.
Sycophancy is all about manipulation.
Oh, okay.
About saying what you think someone wants to hear to get something in return.
So it's about being aware of those underlying motives.
Exactly.
Are we trying to build someone up, or are we just trying to butter them up?
Exactly. Butter them up.
And speaking of being aware of underlying motives, our next word is a bit of a head scratcher. Paradoxical.
Paradoxical.
It refers to those situations that seem contradictory, but might actually contain a hidden truth.
Oh, interesting.
The example they use is, it's paradoxical that the more connected we are online, the lonelier some people feel.
Yeah, that's true.
It's like, how can those two things coexist?
That's the beauty of a paradox.
Right.
It forces us to question our assumptions and dig deeper.
Okay.
On the surface, constant connection should mean less loneliness.
Right.
But maybe it's the quality, not the quantity of those connections that matters most.
That's a good point. It's like having 1,000 Facebook friends
Right.
But still feeling like you have no one to call when you're down.
Exactly. And that leads us to a word that describes a potential solution.
Okay.
To that feeling of isolation. Cathartic.
Oh, cathartic.
It's about releasing pent-up emotions.
Right.
In a healthy way.
Yeah.
Think of crying during a sad movie.
Uh-huh.
Or writing in a journal.
Right. The article mentions that writing in a journal every night was a cathartic experience for someone.
It's like purging those emotions onto the page so they don't stay bottled up inside.
Yeah, and catharsis can come from any activity, right, that allows us to process and release those emotions.
It could be dancing, singing, creating art, even having a heart-to-heart conversation with a trusted friend.
It's like giving ourselves permission to feel those feelings fully so we can move through them and come out the other side.
Exactly. And sometimes what helps us move through those feelings is the realization that we're not alone.
Oh, okay.
And that's where our next word comes in.
All right.
Myriad.
Myriad, okay.
It signifies an abundance, a vast number of something.
Right.
The example the article gives is there are myriad reasons why climate change needs immediate attention. Wow. It really underscores the urgency and the complexity of the issue.
But myriad can also be used in a more
personal way.
Yeah.
Think of the myriad experiences that shape us, the myriad choices we make each day, the myriad people whose lives intersect with our own.
It makes you realize like how interconnected we all are. And maybe that's a comforting thought, knowing we're all navigating this vast, complex world together.
Right.
Speaking of navigating the world,
let's
talk about a word that embodies the essence of something.
Right.
Quintessential.
Quintessential?
It's like capturing the soul of something in its purest form.
That's right.
The article mentions, you know, a dish being the quintessential Italian meal.
Right. But how do we apply that to,
right, exactly. How do we
something more abstract?
Yeah, like a personality trait.
Like a personality trait.
Yeah.
Think of someone you'd consider the quintessential optimist.
Okay.
They radiate positivity, always see the silver lining, lift everyone's spirits.
Right.
They embody the very essence of optimism.
So it's about identifying those core qualities that define something.
Exactly. A person, a place, or even an idea.
Yeah. Okay. I like that.
Right.
And that brings us to a word that describes a quality I think we could all use a little more of in the world. Magnanimous.
Magnanimous.
It's about being generous, forgiving, and rising above pettiness.
I like that.
Especially when you have the upper hand.
Especially when you have the upper hand.
The article talks about a magnanimous gesture of, like, donating winnings to charity.
Right.
It's about acting with kindness and compassion.
Yeah.
Even when you don't have to.
Even when you don't have to, that's right.
It's a powerful word.
It is.
Because it suggests, like, certain nobility of spirit.
Think of a leader who, even after winning a hard-fought election, extends an olive branch to their opponent.
Ooh, that's good.
Or a friend who forgives a betrayal and moves forward with grace.
Okay, that's a high bar.
It is a high bar.
But I love the idea of, like, striving for that level of magnanimity.
Absolutely.
In our interactions with others.
In our everyday lives.
Right.
Yeah.
And finally, we come to a word that I think perfectly encapsulates the human experience. Ineffable.
Ineffable.
Yeah.
This one always gives me chills.
I know, right?
It's about those moments
that are so powerful, so profound that words just can't do them justice.
Right.
The article mentions the ineffable beauty of the Northern Lights.
Yes. It's about those experiences that touch us on a soul level.
Yeah.
That feeling of awe when gazing at the stars.
Right.
The overwhelming love for a child.
Yeah.
The deep grief of losing someone dear.
It's like our language, as vast as it is, sometimes reaches its limits.
It does.
And maybe that's okay.
Maybe that's okay.
Maybe some things are meant to be felt rather than explain.
Yeah, perhaps that's the ultimate lesson here. Language is a powerful tool, but it's not the only tool we have for connecting with the world and each other.
Okay, I'm feeling all introspective now.
A little bit.
But before we get too lost in the ineffable, we have one last word to tackle in our next segment. It's a word that's often used to describe those who possess outstanding English.
Right.
But it can also be a bit of a double-edged sword.
Ooh, a double-edged sword.
Stay tuned to find out what it is. Welcome back to the Deep Dive, word nerds. We've journeyed through words for perceptiveness, fleeting beauty, and even those tricky paradoxes of human nature.
Oh, yeah.
And now for our final word.
Okay.
We're tackling one that's often used to describe those who have, like, a mastery of language.
Okay.
Articulate.
Articulate. It's a word that carries a certain weight, doesn't it?
It does.
To be articulate is to express oneself clearly and effectively, whether through spoken or written word.
The article highlights how someone's articulate arguments can, like, sway a debate.
Okay, yeah.
But it also mentions that the word can be used to subtly reinforce societal biases.
That's an important point to consider.
Right.
Who gets praised for being articulate? And who gets dismissed or overlooked? It's not always about who has the best ideas, but about who has the power and privilege to be heard.
So while articulate can be a compliment, it's important to be aware of the context.
The context.
And the potential biases at play.
Right, exactly.
It's like we've been saying throughout this whole deep dive. Words have power.
They do.
And how we use them matters.
And how we use them matters. It all comes back to that, doesn't it?
Yeah.
We've explored 15 words today.
We have.
Each with its own unique shade of meaning and potential impact.
Right.
But the real takeaway isn't about memorizing definitions.
No.
It's about becoming more conscious, more intentional,
Yeah.
more artful in how we use language.
It's like we've been given this new set of tools, and now it's up to us to use them wisely.
Wisely, yes.
To build bridges.
To build bridges.
Rather than walls.
Yes.
To express ourselves authentically.
Authentically.
And to listen deeply.
To the voices of others.
Deeply, that's right.
And maybe, just maybe, as we become more skilled with words, we can create a world where everyone has the opportunity to be heard.
To be heard.
Understood. Understood.
And valued.
And valued.
For the unique perspectives
Absolutely.
they bring to the conversation.
That's a beautiful thought to end on.
It is. It is.
So to our listeners out there,
yes,
what are your takeaways from this deep dive?
What really resonated with you? Which words resonated with you the most? And how do you plan to use them?
How are you going to use them?
In your own life.
Yeah. We encourage you to keep exploring.
Yeah.
Keep questioning.
Keep playing.
And keep playing with language.
Yes.
Because the more we understand the power of words, the better equipped we are to use them for good.
And who knows, maybe you'll even discover a few new favorite words.
Some new favorites.
Along the way.
Along the way, hit us up on social media.
Yes.
Share your thoughts, your stories.
Let us know.
Your word nerd adventures.
Yes, we want to hear it all.
Until next time.
Keep those words flowing.
Keep those words flowing. Hey everyone, ready for another deep dive? Today we're looking into something really interesting. It's hidden fluency. Those signs that you're actually way better at English than you think.
That's a good one.
We found this article and it's called 14 Signs You're More Fluent in English Than You Think. And honestly, some of these are pretty surprising. I had no idea.
Yeah, you know, we always think of fluency as this perfect thing, but this article looks at it differently.
Yeah.
Like how well you actually communicate, not just, perfect grammar and all that.
Yeah, that's what I liked about it. It's like real world stuff, not just textbook rules.
Yeah.
So where do we even start with these 14 signs?
Well, a bunch of them are kind of connected, so we can group them up. Like, have you ever watched a movie, no subtitles or anything, and you still got what was going on, even if you didn't get every single word?
All the time. Wait, does that actually mean something about fluency? The article says it's like you're understanding the context, which is super important for communication. Like you're picking up on clues, not just the words themselves.
Yeah.
The situation, the other people, how they're talking.
Right. That makes sense. It's kind of like when someone uses a word you don't know, but you figure it out. from the rest of what they're saying.
Exactly. Or even reading an article with some tough vocabulary. You get the main idea without looking up everything. The article says that's another sign.
So it's not about knowing every word, it's how you use the ones you do know.
Yeah. And this connects to another interesting thing. As you get more fluent, you might not be translating everything in your head anymore.
What? Really? I don't even realize I'm doing that.
It gets so automatic you don't notice. Like ordering food at a restaurant. Are you translating the whole menu before you talk?
No way. I just look and order what I want.
See? That probably means you're thinking in English already, which is like a big fluency thing.
Wow, this is making me rethink my whole English level. I didn't know these little things. Could be such a big deal.
I know, right?
Yeah.
And it gets even cooler. The article says even how you think in English changes. Like when you're planning stuff or making sentences in your head.
Instead of thinking it in my own language first, I just think it in English now.
Exactly. It means you're so comfortable with it. It's becoming natural.
This is awesome. I'm already seeing these signs in myself. What else does the article talk about?
Well, we can't forget about idioms and slang. Right?
Oh, I love a good idiom. They're so fun.
And the article says understanding and using them shows you really get the nuances of English. It's not just the words, it's the culture and the meaning behind them.
Yeah, like break the ice doesn't mean literally breaking ice. It means making things more relaxed, starting the conversation.
Exactly. And being able to not just understand, but USE those idioms. Shows you're going way beyond basic stuff. It's like a deeper level.
Okay, so we got understanding the situation, thinking in English, and using idioms and slang. 3 hidden signs already. What's next?
Let's get into how we actually talk in English. This might surprise you. The article says not overthinking your answers and even using filler words can actually be signs of fluency.
Wait, what? I thought filler words were bad, and like...
It's totally natural, especially for native speakers. Think about it. When you chat with a friend, do you plan every word before you say it?
No way. It's all about the flow.
Right. So if you can answer naturally without overthinking it, and maybe throw in some ums and likes, it could mean you're comfortable, like a native speaker.
That's such a relief. I always feel bad when I use those words, but maybe it's not that big of a deal.
Maybe not. But of course, it's all about balance. They should help your flow, not hurt it.
Right. That makes sense. What else about conversations does the article talk about?
This is interesting. It gets into humor and abstract topics. Those can be hard, even for people who are pretty fluent.
Oh, yeah. I remember struggling with English humor. I never got the jokes.
Well, think about it. Humor isn't just the words. It's the culture, the tone, all these little things. So understanding it means you're fluent on a deeper level.
And what about abstract topics, like philosophy and stuff?
The article says being able to talk about those big ideas means you have really good skills. It's not just describing things.
Yeah.
It's expressing complex thoughts.
That makes sense. When you're talking about something abstract, you have to be more careful with your words.
Exactly. And you know what? They even have a joke example in the article.
Oh, a joke. I love jokes. Tell me.
Why don't skeletons fight each other? They don't have the guts.
I get it. Skeletons don't have guts, so they can't fight. It's funny because guts means courage, too.
Exactly. You understood the joke perfectly, which means you're getting those subtle things. It's not just knowing the words, it's understanding how they're used in a funny way.
Wow, I'm seeing fluency in a whole new light. We talked about context thinking in English. Idioms, slang filler, words, humor, abstract topics. So much already. What else is there?
There's more. The article talks about writing, understanding different accents, and most importantly, having the confidence to just go for it. But I think that's a lot for now. Maybe we let it all sink in and come back for the next part of our deep dive.
Sounds good. This is giving me so much to think about. Can't wait for the next part. Okay, we're back and ready for more hidden fluency. My mind is still blown from all those signs we talked about.
Yeah, there's a lot more. We're going through this article. 14 signs you're more fluent in English than you think. And we've got some really cool stuff to cover still.
Hit me with it. What else is there?
Well, we were talking about communication, right? Like those moments when things get tricky.
You mean like when you're trying to explain something and the other person just doesn't get it?
Exactly. The article says even those situations can show how fluent you are. If you can handle misunderstandings without freaking out, that's a good sign.
So it's not just about speaking perfectly. It's about knowing how to fix things when you need to.
Yeah. They say it's about being able to rephrase things, explain it differently, maybe use simpler words if they're not understanding you. It's all about keeping the conversation going.
That's true. I used to get so nervous when I had to explain myself. But I've gotten better at it over time. Maybe that's a fluency thing too.
It probably is. The more fluent you are, the more confident you feel. even when things don't go perfectly.
So handling misunderstandings, that's a sign of fluency. Interesting. What else is there about communication?
The article talks about changing your tone depending on who you're talking to.
Oh, yeah. You wouldn't talk to your boss the same way you talk to your friend.
Exactly. Being able to change your tone, how you say things, your words, that shows you really get how to communicate in different situations.
It's like reading the room and knowing how to act right.
Yeah. It's being socially smart with the language. Yeah. They even give examples in the article, like how you would greet a friend versus how you would start a work meeting.
It's crazy how those little things make such a difference. Okay, so far we've got understanding the situation, thinking in English, idioms, slang, talking naturally with those filler words, understanding humor, abstract topics, handling misunderstandings, A&D, changing our tone. Did I miss anything?
Wow, you got it all. We're making good progress through these 14 signs, but we're not done yet. The article also talks about writing in English, understanding different accents, and the most important thing, having the confidence to just use your English.
Okay, let's talk writing. I think a lot of people get more nervous about writing than speaking. It feels so much more serious.
I get it. Writing is different. But the article says if you can write emails or messages naturally, without checking every grammar rule, that's actually a big deal.
So it's not about being perfect. It's about expressing yourself clearly.
Exactly. They give this example of a casual email to a coworker. Hi, Sarah. Just following up on the report. Let me know if you need anything else. Single to the point, gets the job done.
I like that. It's not about trying to sound super fancy. It's about using writing to communicate.
Right. Which brings us to understanding different accents. That can be tough.
Oh, yeah. When I first started watching British TV shows, I needed subtitles to understand anything.
That happens to a lot of people.
Yeah.
But being able to understand different accents, whether it's British, American, Australian, whatever, it shows you have really good listening skills.
So it's not just about speaking, it's about understanding all the different ways people say it.
Yeah, it's a super useful skill, especially these days when we talk to people from all over the world. The article even talks about watching shows like Sherlock with those British accents, or Friends with the American accents, and being able to understand them without a problem.
You know what? Now that you mention it, I can watch those shows without subtitles now. Maybe I am more fluent than I thought.
That's awesome. Sounds like you're improving without even realizing it.
And that brings us to the last sign we'll talk about today, confidence. This one's really important.
Well, definitely. I think a lot of people are scared to speak English because they don't feel confident. That's why this article is so good. It says fluency isn't about being perfect. It's about being comfortable enough to use your English, even if you make mistakes sometimes.
That makes me feel better. It's okay to mess up a little as long as you're communicating right.
Right. They have this example of someone correcting themselves while they're talking. Like yesterday I go to the park. I went to the park. Yeah. The point is they fixed the mistake and kept going.
It's like it's okay to be human. We're not robots. Fluency is about connecting with people.
Exactly. It's about using English to build relationships, share ideas, and experience the world.
This whole conversation has been so eye-opening. But it feels like we've only scratched the surface.
There's definitely more to talk about. But I think it's good to let all this sink in for a bit. And then we can come back for the last part of our deep dive and wrap it all up.
That sounds like a plan. I can't wait to see what else we uncover. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive into hidden fluency.
It's amazing how much we learn about how we use English, isn't it?
I know. It's like we've been fluent all along, but we didn't even realize it. So now what? What do we do with all this new information?
Well, that's where the last part of this article gets really interesting. It's not just about knowing the signs. It's about how we think about our fluency, like shifting our mindset from what we're bad at to what we're good at.
I like that. So what kind of advice do they give?
First, they say to just think about your journey with English. Like, where did you start and how far have you come? All those milestones.
Yeah, it's so easy to forget about all the progress we've made. We're always focused on what's next.
I know. But celebrating those wins, even the small ones, can really help us keep going. The article also says to look for chances to use English in real life, like talking to friends, watching movies, reading stuff, and notice how much you need help.
So it's about putting ourselves out there and just using the language.
Exactly. The more you do it, the more you'll realize you can actually do it. You can talk to people, understand things, express yourself. It's about focusing on what you can do.
I love that. It takes the pressure off of being perfect.
Right. And even celebrating those little wins is important. Like, if you understood a movie without subtitles, or explained something complicated in English, or had a good conversation with a native speaker, those are all wins.
It's like giving ourselves credit for how much we've learned.
Yeah. And this next one is super important. Don't compare yourself to others.
Oh, that's so hard, though. It's easy to look at other people and feel bad.
I know it's tempting. But everyone learns differently. We all have different strengths and weaknesses. The article says to focus on your journey and your goals.
That's good advice. It's like we're all running our own race.
Exactly. And fluency isn't about reaching some finish line. It's about using English to connect with people, share your thoughts, and see the world.
This whole deep dive has been so cool. I feel like I understand fluency in a totally new way.
That's great to hear.
Yeah.
And that's the message I want you to take away. Fluency is a journey. It's about always learning and growing, but it's also about appreciating how far you've come already.
I like that. Before we finish, I want to leave our listeners with something to think about.
Good idea. Yeah. How about this? What's one thing about your English fluency that you want to work on?
That's a great question. It makes people think about what they're good at and what they want to improve.
Yeah. And there's no right or wrong answer. Maybe it's idioms or feeling more confident or understanding different accents. It's all about choosing your own path.
So true. Well, that's it for our deep dive into hidden fluency. Thanks for joining us. We hope you learned something new about your own English skills.
And remember, fluency is a journey, not a destination. Keep practicing and keep celebrating your wins.
We'll see you next time for another deep dive. Hey everyone, welcome back. We're doing a deep dive today into common English mistakes.
Oh, fun.
Yeah, and we've got this really cool source that approaches it from the perspective of someone learning English as a second language.
Yeah.
So I thought that was kind of a neat way to think about it because even if you are a native English speaker, I think we can all agree we make mistakes sometimes.
Absolutely.
So why don't we just jump right into it?
Let's do it.
Okay, so one of the first things that the source mentions that can be a real struggle for English language learners is mixing up he and she. And they even have this funny little tip in here where they say, to imagine Tom Cruise for he and Beyonce for she.
Yeah, I like that.
Do you think that would actually help?
I think that using really strong visuals like that can definitely help.
Yeah.
Because I think our brains are wired for those kinds of connections.
Yeah.
But, you know, ultimately the key is to really practice identifying the gender before you speak, rather than trying to catch yourself mid-sentence.
Yeah, that's true, because once you've already caught yourself mid-sentence, you're already kind of flustered at that point.
Exactly.
Okay, now this next one, the source points out, I think is another really common one.
Okay.
And that is misusing A and N.
Yeah.
Now, this is one where we have to remember it's about that initial sound of the word.
Right.
Not necessarily just the letter that a word starts with.
Exactly.
So, for example, we say an hour.
Right.
Even though hour starts with an H, because it sounds like it starts with a vowel.
Right.
You know, the source even jokes about how no one would ever say a apple.
Right.
Because it just sounds wrong.
It sounds wrong.
So your ear really is a powerful tool.
Yeah, it is.
When it comes to language.
Absolutely.
All right. This next one always makes me cringe a little bit when I hear it.
Oh, okay.
And that is, I am agree. I feel like I hear that one quite a bit.
You do?
Even from people who have been speaking English for a while.
Yeah, it's a common one.
So what is the correct way to say that?
The correct way is just, I agree.
I agree.
And I think what happens is that a lot of times people are bringing in rules from other languages.
Oh, interesting.
Where you might need that helping verb. But in English, agree can stand alone.
Okay, so it's almost like they're carrying over a rule from another language.
Exactly.
Into English, and it doesn't quite work.
Yeah.
All right, let's talk about something that I think trips up a lot of people.
Okay.
And that is prepositions.
Yeah.
The source really focuses on in, on, and at.
Okay.
Which I think we all know can be notoriously tricky.
Yeah, very tricky.
And they have this visual breakdown that they do where they say that in is basically like being inside a box.
Okay.
On is being on a surface, and at is like pointing to a very specific spot.
Right.
So do you find that that kind of visual approach is helpful when you're thinking about prepositions?
I think it's incredibly helpful.
Yeah.
Especially for things like prepositions that deal with spatial concepts.
Right.
You know, it can really solidify the meaning.
Yeah.
And I think you can even take it a step further and really try to visualize those things in your mind.
Okay.
So, you know, when you use in, think about being surrounded by the car.
Oh, yeah.
Or when you think about on, think about the bus as kind of this big flat surface.
Oh, that's a good one.
That you're on top of.
Okay, yeah. Those are great additions.
Yeah.
All right, the next thing the source brings up is the very common mistake of using double negatives.
Yeah.
So, for example, I don't know nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, why do you think this mistake is so common?
I think it probably has to do with the fact that people are over-applying a rule.
Ah.
We know the past tense of go is went.
Right.
So we instinctively want to use it.
Yeah.
But with that helping verb did, we always use the base form of the main verb.
So did already covers the past tense.
Okay.
So it should be I didn't go. Okay. All right. Shifting gears a little bit. The source mentions that overusing the word very is something that a lot of advanced learners tend to do.
Yeah.
They actually suggest that instead of just constantly using the word very, to try to swap it out for a stronger vocabulary word.
Yes.
So why is that so important?
Well, I think that using very all the time makes your writing or your speech sound very repetitive and kind of weak.
Okay.
So instead of very tired, you could say exhausted.
Yeah.
Instead of very happy, you could say thrilled.
Oh, I like that one.
So, just expanding that vocabulary will make your English sound much more sophisticated.
I can definitely see that. Using more descriptive words really elevates your writing and makes it sound more interesting.
Yes.
All right, now let's tackle a pair of words that I think a lot of people get confused about.
Okay.
And that is since and for.
Yeah.
What is the key difference between those two words and how do we use them correctly?
The key difference is that since refers to a specific point in time.
Okay.
And for refers to a duration of time.
Oh, okay.
So you could say, I've been living here since 2010.
Yeah.
But I've lived here for 10 years.
Okay, that's a really good explanation.
Yeah.
So since kind of pinpoints that starting point,
Mm-hmm.
and then for lets us know how long something has been going on.
Right.
Okay. Now, another mistake that I have noticed people make, and this is one that I've even noticed native English speakers get wrong sometimes, is mixing up less and fewer.
Right.
Why is that one so tricky?
This one comes down to the difference between countable and uncountable nouns.
Okay.
So fewer is used for things that you can count individually,
Okay.
like apples or dollars.
Right.
And less
Right.
is for things that you can't count individually,
Gotcha.
like water or time.
So you would say fewer cookies, but less milk.
Exactly.
But you know what I have noticed sometimes?
What's that, Deuce?
Is that I've seen signs, like at the grocery store, checkout,
Right.
that say 10 items or less.
Right.
Which it seems to go against the rule, doesn't it?
It does. That's an interesting exception.
Yeah.
Technically, it should be 10 items or fewer.
Right.
But in this case, less has become pretty widely accepted.
Yeah, I guess that's just one of those quirks of the English language.
Exactly.
All right, let's wrap up this first part of our deep dive with one final distinction the source makes.
Okay.
And that is between fun and funny.
Yeah.
Now, I feel like sometimes people use these interchangeably.
They do?
But there is a slight difference.
There is.
Between them.
All
So
right.
can you kind of explain what that is?
Yeah, so fun is something that's enjoyable.
Okay.
It's a very broad term. It
Yeah.
can be lots of different kinds of experiences.
Uh-huh.
Whereas funny specifically refers to something that makes you laugh.
Okay, so going to a party could be fun,
Right.
but a joke would be funny. Okay, so recognizing that distinction can really help you.
Yeah.
Choose the right word
Choose the right word.
to get your meaning across.
Right.
Oh my goodness, we've covered so much already. We went from basic pronoun usage to the nuances of fun versus funny. It's amazing how much these seemingly small mistakes can impact how we communicate. We'll be right back in just a moment to continue our deep dive into these common English errors.
Sounds good. It's amazing how language is always kind of evolving, isn't it?
Yeah.
What might be a mistake in one context
Right.
might be totally acceptable.
Right.
Or even like a deliberate choice
Yeah.
in a different context.
Yeah, that's a great point. And it actually reminds me of what we were talking about earlier.
Okay.
With those double negatives.
Yeah.
Like grammatically they're incorrect
Uh-huh.
in standard English, but the source did point out that sometimes
Right.
they are used intentionally for emphasis,
Right.
or even in certain dialects.
Yeah, exactly. Like if someone says, I ain't got no time for that.
Yeah.
Grammatically it's incorrect, but it conveys a much
The hunger.
stronger sense of urgency
Yeah.
than if you just said, I don't have time for that.
Yeah, it definitely adds a certain flavor and even a bit of personality to the language.
It does. And it really highlights how language is about so much more.
Right.
than just rules.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
It's about conveying meaning. It's about connecting with people.
Right.
In a way that resonates.
Absolutely. And I think that also ties into how important the context is that language is being used in.
Exactly.
Something that might be perfectly acceptable to say in a casual conversation.
Right.
You probably wouldn't want to say in a formal setting.
Exactly. Knowing your audience and adjusting your language accordingly is so crucial.
Yeah.
It's about being adaptable and sensitive to those nuances of communication.
Okay, let's shift gears just a little bit and talk about something that often trips up even advanced English learners.
Okay.
And that is the difference between since and for.
Now, the source emphasizes that since is used for a specific point in time, while for is used for a duration.
Yeah.
But it's interesting to consider how those two concepts, like a point in time versus a duration, how those kind of extend beyond just since and for.
Yeah.
And they play a role in so many other aspects of English grammar.
Absolutely.
Could you give me an example of that?
Sure. Think about how we use different tenses.
Oh, yeah.
To express actions that happen in the past, are happening now, or will happen in the future.
Right.
Those tenses are all related to time. Just like since and for.
Yeah.
Even adverbs like yesterday, currently, or tomorrow.
Yeah.
Help us pinpoint specific points in time or durations.
That's a really interesting way to think about it. It shows how interconnected all these different elements of grammar are.
They really are.
So it's not just about memorizing rules, it's about understanding those bigger concepts.
It's about understanding the why behind those rules.
Exactly. Now, getting back to since and for, I did want to add just a little nuance.
Okay.
While since is often used for a specific point in the past, it can also be used for an action that started in the past, but is continuing in the present.
Yeah.
So, for example, I've been working since 8 a.m. would indicate that that action of working started at 8 in the morning, but is still ongoing.
It's still going on, exactly.
So it's not just like a past event. It's like a continuing thing.
Right.
Okay, now another pair of words that I've noticed that people often mix up, even native speakers, is less and fewer.
Right.
What is the key to really mastering those two?
The rule is based around the idea of countable versus uncountable nouns.
Okay.
So fewer is for things that we can count individually.
Right.
Like cars or books or mistakes.
Okay.
And less is for things that we can't count individually, like traffic.
Oh, okay.
Information or stress.
Okay, so it's basically about whether you can make the noun plural or not.
Exactly.
So fewer cookies, but less sugar.
Right.
But I have noticed people say things like 10 items or less.
Right.
At the grocery store checkout.
Yeah.
And that seems to go against the rule.
It does. That's one of those cases where, despite the rule, common usage has kind of shifted.
Yeah.
And less before a countable quantity like items has become widely accepted.
So it's one of those exceptions that proves the rule.
Exactly. And it shows you how language is constantly changing and adapting to how people use it.
Yeah, it's a living, breathing thing.
It is.
All right, let's wrap up this segment with one final distinction that the source makes.
Okay.
Between fun and funny.
Okay.
Now, it's easy to think of these as kind of interchangeable.
Right.
But there is a subtle but important difference between the two.
Right. Fun is this really broad term that just encompasses any enjoyable experience, whether it involves laughter or not. Okay. Going to a concert.
Yeah.
Playing a game, having a challenging workout. All of those things can be fun.
So fun is really about that overall enjoyment of an experience. But funny is specifically something that makes you laugh.
Exactly. A joke, a witty comment, a slapstick routine, those would be funny.
Okay, so funny is about humor.
Yes.
But fun is much broader.
Much broader.
It can be anything that's enjoyable.
Right.
And using those words correctly really ensures that we're communicating our intended meaning.
Yes, and the more precise we are with our language, the more effectively we can express ourselves.
Well said. We've covered a lot of ground in this deep dive.
We have.
And I'm sure at this point you are starting to see those common English mistakes in a whole new light.
I hope so. I think it's really easy to overlook those things.
Right.
When you're just speaking or writing quickly.
But hopefully you're also starting to appreciate the richness and complexity
Absolutely.
of the English language.
There's a lot to learn.
There is. We'll be right back with some final thoughts and maybe even a little challenge for you. All right, we're back for the final part of our deep dive today into common English mistakes. I don't know about you, but I'm already starting to pay a lot more attention to the way I use language.
Yeah, me too.
It's amazing how much we can learn just by being more mindful, I think.
Absolutely, yeah. It's like we've been sharpening our linguistic tools.
Yeah, exactly.
And the more we use them, the better we get at it.
Exactly. You know, as we've been discussing all these common errors, it's kind of made me wonder about what other subtle mistakes we might be making.
Right.
Without even realizing it.
Yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
I think each of us probably has our blind spots when it comes to language.
Sure.
You know, maybe it's a particular word we misuse or a grammar rule that we just always forget.
Oh, yeah. I know I have a couple of those. Like, I always have to double check myself when I'm using affect or effect.
Right. Yeah.
I can never remember which one to use.
Yeah, that's a classic one.
Yeah, and it really just highlights the importance of staying curious about language, I think.
Yeah.
And to keep learning. You know, it's all about that exploration.
Absolutely.
And really, that's what this whole deep dive is all about, you know? It's not about reaching some unattainable level of perfection or anything. It's more about just embracing that journey of learning and growing, I think.
It's all about progress, not perfection.
Exactly. And remember, even the most experienced writers and speakers make mistakes.
Oh, for sure.
All the time. So the key is to just approach language with a sense of humility, I think.
Yeah.
And always be willing to learn from those mistakes.
Absolutely.
So to kind of wrap up this episode today, we have a little bit of a challenge for you.
I like it.
Take some time to reflect on your own language habits.
Okay.
Are there any words or phrases that you tend to misuse? Any grammar rules that trip you up?
Good questions.
Once you've kind of pinpointed what some of those blind spots are, maybe make a conscious effort to just pay more attention to them in your everyday communication. Maybe even jot down a few notes or look up some examples. But just remember, this isn't about beating yourself up.
Yeah.
It's more about recognizing those areas where you can grow and improve.
It's about celebrating the fact that there's always more to learn.
Exactly. And ultimately embracing the beauty and complexity of the English language and using it to really express yourself in the most powerful and authentic way you can.
Well said. So until next time, keep exploring.
Yeah.
Keep questioning.
Yes.
And keep striving to become the best communicator that you can be.
And don't be afraid to make a few mistakes along the way.
Mistakes help us learn.
They really do.
Oh.
Until next time, happy diving.